Hello, I'm James Desort, a CPA who's been working in the area of tax for 15 years, with about 13 of those years being in the corporate tax environment, and my most recent 2 years being in public accounting. Today is August 16, 2023, and at the time of this recording, I do currently find myself in the position of being in the job market. So just to help showcase certain aspects of my knowledge and skills, I've put together this brief presentation on the foundations of tax research. These are just some basic concepts that I have found most helpful in my career and thought you might find them helpful too. So with that, let's get started. It may surprise you for me to say it's not all about the tools. It's not so important if you're using Checkpoint, Bloomberg Tax, CCH, or even Google. What's important is the ultimate source that you are referencing. Research is about an appeal to authority. Research typically starts with a question such as, is my product or service taxable in this state? While it's okay to use your research platforms or handbooks as a starting point, it's important for you to understand how to double check the law yourself to make sure you agree with the conclusions published in those platforms. You want to make sure you're referencing the highest level of authority possible and not just referencing the publisher or the guidebook itself. Research is also about your own comprehension and interpretation of the law and the conclusions you arrive at in response to the question prompting you to do the research. But at the very core of it all, you want to make sure the information on which you're basing your conclusion comes from a primary source. The higher the level of authority, the better. And these authorities are listed by highest to lowest. Statutory is the highest, which is issued by the legislature. Administrative is the second highest, being issued by the executive or enforcement branch. Typically, that would be the Department of Revenue. And thirdly, if it's still not clear, even after reviewing the laws and regulations, you should try to find a court case where the facts of the case closely match the facts of your scenario. So now that we've discussed the hierarchy of authority, let's discuss the importance of understanding how to identify which authoritative source is which. Generally speaking, a statutory source will have the word statutes or code in its name, and an administrative source would have the word administrative or regulations in its name. However, just because the source has the word code in the name doesn't necessarily mean you can count on it being statutory. For example, in the state of Washington, we have one authoritative source called the Revised Code of Washington, or RCW, and the other authoritative source is called the Washington Administrative Code. So you'll need to stop for a second and think, wait, they both have the word code in the name. Which one is which? In this case, the best way to tell is by noting that one source also has the word administrative in the name. That's the clue that tells you the Revised Code of Washington is the statutory source, and the Washington Administrative Code is the administrative or regulatory source. And that's how you would want to approach any ambiguity. And now that you've learned about the authoritative hierarchy and how to determine which source is which, that concludes this brief presentation. I hope you've learned something by watching, and I hope the presentation will give you the confidence you need to engage in more research projects as you advance in your career. Thank you.